All right. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to Smart Women in Cannabis. I'm your host, Kyra Reed. Thank you for joining us today. Our guest today is Katie Pringle, co-founder and CEO of Marigold, co-founder of the event platform Candora, and the WWC conference in Toronto. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks for having me. So nice to be here.
Katie Pringle is the Katie Pringle is a marketing and PR executive and expert. Before launching Marigold, Katie ran Pringle Communications, providing social media and integrated marketing strategy. From 2014, she worked as the marketing and communications manager of Food Bakes Canada, where she transformed their digital presence and developed new fundraising opportunities through digital and social media. Starting in 2008 at Chorus Entertainment, Katie worked on the portfolio of women's brands, notably managing the successful launch of the Oprah Winfrey Network in Canada. In 2012, Katie was promoted, headed up social media strategy for the television business, including great brands like YTV, CMT, Treehouse, and W Network. Previously, she worked on award-winning marketing and PR campaigns in Hamilton's retail sector. Katie, I'm so glad to have you on with me. I mean, we've been trying to do this for what, like 3 years now?
I know. We connected pretty quickly, didn't we, when we met at Lyft like eons ago?
No, it wasn't Lyft. I've never been to Lyft. It was MJ Biz was the first time. And then when I went to Toronto, we met in person.
That's right. It was MJ Biz. That's right. Yeah. It's been forever, but it's so nice to see you.
I know. Nice to see you too. Okay, so I have never really heard your story. Let's start there. How did you get involved in cannabis? How did you come to start a PR firm? And why the focus on women?
Sure. The last one is the easiest to answer for me. I always have worked in marketing to women. I've always worked on brands that target women. And luckily, I've had some incredible leadership throughout my life, both the VP level and EVP level that I worked under at Chorus were just these amazing women I'm still in contact with today. In terms of cannabis, Bridget, my partner, and I met volunteering about 5 years ago, almost 7 years ago now. And she's still the chair of the board of that charity. I was helping with some of their marketing initiatives. And we just really clicked. And for me, I was finishing my mat leave. In Canada, you get a year. Now you can actually take 18 months. Wow. So I was finishing my mat leave and I was doing consulting because I can't sit still. And Bridget and I worked on a project together and we really connected. And then when we launched Marigold 5 years ago, one of our first clients was actually a friend of the family who owned a head shop. And I was like, no problem. We can blow this up for you. I'm happy to help. And then I quickly learned, especially in Canada, how challenging it really is to launch a cannabis brand in any traditional way. All countries face the same challenges when it comes to Google and Facebook and Instagram and how we're treated by those platforms. But there's additional, it's called the Cannabis Act in Canada, and it really makes it challenging for brands to resonate and build loyalty with consumers. And then, from there, Bridget and I like to say cannabis found us. We've been focusing on the PR realm for a really long time. It's considered compliant. We work with a variety of brands. I just absolutely love the industry. Like getting to meet you, Kyra, and the community that you've built is so incredible. And the people are really what keep me, and the work is really interesting. And as you know, changing all the time. So there's always something interesting happening and more reasons to stay.
Yeah, I just had that conversation with a friend of mine, well, actually with the whole team of my community leaders on our Instagram Live, that the number of times we've all contemplated leaving the industry and then leaving all of our women behind is just kind of a non-starter. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. And our team is mostly women. There's 13 of us. We have a couple great gentlemen on our team, but for the vast majority, our team is mostly women. Our clients are really mixed, and we do appreciate some of the brands we've worked with that are definitely a male-dominated team, but really appreciated, the feminine lens that we could bring to the table. Marketing is marketing. My background just happens to be in brands that target women, so that's where my passion sits. And then, building up women, just like you've been doing so well in your communities, is a core value for both myself and Bridget in the industry. And women have so much to share and so much to say, and giving them that platform has been really rewarding for sure for all of us, I think.
That's awesome. So you talk about the women that you have met in the industry, the women that work for you. What is it like being a woman and among other women in the industry in Canada? There's a very specific flavor of what it's like to be a woman in California in the industry and a woman in the United States in the industry. And I know that we have talked quite a bit about the similarities, but you've just mentioned, what is the Cannabis Act? Is that what you called it?
Mm-hmm.
So these put up hindrances to women getting involved in the business, whether it's owning their own business or bringing their skills and expertise over. What are some of the challenges you have up there?
Yeah, a challenge I like to speak to is we talk a lot about stigma. Everyone talks about stigma associated with the industry. But the additional layer is there's been a few bad apples that have, I think, made it difficult for us to attract the kind of talent that is looking for some industry stability. So watching the increase of or watching the fast-paced nature of these companies expanding and then contracting. Layoffs aren't such a great story. Neither are some of the market. The stock prices right now have been a little bit challenging. So I think demonstrating stability as an industry and building our reputation as an amazing place to work is going to go a long way to continue to bring in that professionalism and all of the smarts that are out there, but perhaps weren't willing to make a leap from CPG or from pharma or from some of the other relevant industries because of the security that those industries have offered those women for so long. And I find based on anecdotally, based on my conversations is, that's the scary point for a lot of women to make this big shift into this evolving space. Not sure really long from a longevity standpoint what everything's going to look like. And the truth is we don't know that. You sort of have to be willing to get on the ride. And that for sure is what it is. It's quite a ride.
Yes, it is. It's a scary ride too. So what are some of the places that you do see women really succeeding in the industry up there? What are they drawn to the most?
Yeah, similar to other industries, a lot of marketers like ourselves tends to be quite female dominated as it is. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing more on kind of the STEM front, on the science research, which is really exciting. A lot of our friends, and then also bridging into psychedelics, we're seeing a lot of that as well. And I'm sure you've seen some overlap where you are. And that's cool, right? Like you get a taste of something new in cannabis, and it allows you to continue to be brave and enter these new markets. And so fingers crossed, plant medicine as a whole continues to evolve with women at the forefront. But I mean, I think like when we first started, we were unique in the room, even just 5 years ago, because we were a team of women. Like that on its own made us incredibly unique. And it's good for everyone that there's more and more companies that have evolved, and we have more competition, which is good for everyone. And it's balanced things out. But it will be interesting to see after COVID, after where everything lands, the impact this pandemic has had on mothers and women in general has been overwhelming. And I think it still takes a lot of effort to put yourself out there in a new space, in a new industry. And if your time and your brain power have been hit hard with this pandemic, the way a lot of us have felt, that hinders people from wanting to make these big decisions and big changes. So I fingers crossed, once we can see everyone in person, I'm still seeing the same balance, and hopefully it's increasing. But my sense, and based on what I'm reading on how challenging this has been for women, this pandemic, I'm not sure that that's what we're going to see in our space. It's a bit high risk still in terms of job security when you look at it from an outsider's point of view.
It definitely the same can be said here in the U.S. I mean, the women in our labor market really took a huge hit during COVID, and we'll see how many come back. It's
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking. But let's talk about something positive, and that
Okay.
is the emerging psychedelics industry. Tell me what's going on up in Canada.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to see. So we have quite a few things evolving on the research front. There have been some grants, and there have been some specific laws and stipulations created for some research studies, especially around end of life use for psilocybin, people in palliative care. So really awesome, huge, exciting news. Given where the industry is at right now, we're seeing global representation as well. And a lot of these companies are quite diverse in their makeup. I think it's pretty exciting. It's what we all hoped for cannabis. And at this point, we're starting to really see psychedelics evolve, especially for women and for global brands on that front. We also see a big move towards IPOs, so not dissimilar to cannabis, right? A big move towards IPO offering. It's definitely the year of the mushroom, from functional all the way through to psychedelics. So yeah, it's a hot happening space, and the brain power. I'm not sure what you feel from your experience, but like I'm learning every second listening to these women in the space. It's incredible.
Yeah, it never ceases to blow my mind, the talent and the brilliance that this industry has attracted. We do a clubhouse for WEIC once a month where we allow an open mic for the community, so women can just kind of come up and say who they are and what they do. And it's just an hour and a half of wow, 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 wow,
Oh, yeah.
wow, amazing. These women just blow me away. And really, I feel like what I do now at WIC is just to get a chance to meet all of them.
Yeah, right. And like talking to a neuroscientist, like who gets to do that all the time? It's pretty incredible.
Or a third generation cannabis farmer from the Emerald Triangle.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
you're right. And one of the things that I love so much about this industry, and it sounds like it's very similar up in Canada, is that, in other industries, when you network, you're like looking for that person who's going to get you that job or get you that deal. And so if they're not, like, whoever's in front of you isn't snapping to, you're like, okay, I'm gone. I need to meet somebody else. But in cannabis, you just can hardly make your way through a room because everyone has something so compelling to talk about that impacts you in one way or another, whether it's a nurse or marketing or an extractor. We're just so intertwined in this industry, and there's so much to learn. It will
Totally.
never end.
I agree. And then I don't know if you guys experience this as well, but like the movement is pretty, there's a lot of movement. You have a C-suite player at one licensed producer who ends up at another, or you have a salesperson who ends up with a great opportunity. And so the notion of networking with someone at face value is so short-sighted, because collaborations are key. It's so fast-paced, and in 2 seconds, you or they may be working on something different that really aligns you. So really trying to take people in like that, and understanding all they bring to the table is so important. And I miss that in person, but the virtual event space has fulfilled a need that I have, for sure, to see faces and hear from them. And it's not the same as in person, but it has definitely made, it's a little bright star for me anyways, because I'm an extrovert. I need to connect with people, and I miss connecting with women at events. And so the ability to do some virtual stuff, and even talking to you today, is so nice. It really honestly fills my cup.
Yeah, me too. I'll say that COVID would have been a lot worse if we had not pivoted into digital events. It
Yeah.
took a lot of time, and it allowed me to meet people that I wouldn't even have been able to meet at any of our other events because it requires a commitment to come. you know,
Yep.
from wherever you are. And now we can have women from all over the world. We had women from all over the world join us. We even had a guest from India, a guest speaker from India when we did our Women in Plant Medicine Summit last year. So
Amazing. Amazing.
I know it's just be grateful for the blessings of the virtual world, but also, you know, I'm kind of excited to live in a hybrid because we've had so much success with the virtual or with the virtual. I'm anxious to go back to the real life, but I don't want to lose out on actually being able to connect with so many women and provide a platform in this way, you know?
Yep, I totally agree. And it's even changed, I think, in general, the way people approach things like Clubhouse. So weird for me initially, just to talk, right? And pushing you to try different things and to put yourself out there in different ways hasn't been easy for everyone, but a lot of learning. And I agree, the hybrid opportunity is so great. Continuing that global view while making localized or kind of targeted connections is kind of perfect. So fingers crossed, we're almost there.
So as we move back into the real normal or new normal or whatever we're going to call it, you mentioned collaboration. Where does collaboration fit in your business model? What collaborations do you have coming up? I know I'm super excited to announce that we have a collaboration. Finally, we've been able to pull it together this year. It's something we've wanted to do for years so that we can support our sisters to the north, and you can have a little more access down here as well to your sisters in the south. And we can start to build bigger bridges for women on a global scale. But tell me about your spirit of collaboration, where it fits into your business model and what you have going on with other collaborations.
For sure. So for us, everything has been rooted in partnerships. We've known that from the onset in this new industry and in this evolving media landscape too. Just like companies have come and gone, so have influencers, bloggers, and media outlets. And it started for us a few years ago when we launched Candora, and Candora here in Canada is a network of women in cannabis and now psychedelics. And what for us, it was really about, putting interesting women on stage, giving them the platform and allowing the ability to learn from those people. And then an additional piece was all around our networking and getting everyone to introduce themselves and supporting our attendees at making kind of key connections that move business forward. Because at the end of the day, it's great to support women and it's great to support business, but we want to make sure that what we're all encompassing and we're making really good use of everyone's time and helping to create those key connections. And so Candora has put on over 20 events across Canada. And so that's been a lot of fun. And when we decided to launch a national conference because we did not have a women in cannabis focused conference. And last year we launched something called WWC, so the Women Wellness and Cannabis Conference. This year, that conference is coming up May 26th and 27th. And we are featuring over 80 speakers from all over the world. Day one's cannabis and day two is psychedelics. And our goal is really to ensure we're bringing that networking piece to life. So we have the learning available. It's free, available, very accessible. We have some ticketed networking events that are pillar specific. So if you're in operations, there's one all about operations. If you're a retailer or bud tender, there's one specifically for you. And then we're doing activations all over the place. So we've got some Instagram live and some fun activations over there. We're going to have a clubhouse lounge, which I hope you'll join. And our goal really is about driving involvement across all levels, being where the industry is on all these different platforms, and then recognizing some amazing leaders and giving them a chance to speak, like you on our Women in Leadership panel.
I'm really excited about that this year. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, that was one of our hottest panels last year for sure. I think everyone is really inspired by these amazing stories and the steps, especially, you've taken, Kyra, with your community and your audience. They have impact beyond measure. I'm sure you see all the engagements, but what goes on behind the scenes and the reason people have been able to connect at events because they're part of these larger communities, I think goes a long way to break down barriers and make it easier for people to connect and have some authentic conversations, and again, driving towards collaboration.
Absolutely. And some of the things we're really focused on in the coming year or years for our community are ensuring that women have the opportunity to share their wealth. So, by hiring women in the community, whether it's to employ in your business or hiring their services, we also want to make sure that women have opportunities at the table that they may not have had before. Because, how many times I've heard, well, I just didn't find any women that were open for the position. Well, now, you don't really have much of an excuse. We're here. And we have lots of ways for you to share that. So, what are some of the things that you're really focused on in your community for women in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, for us, giving women a platform, we feel is really important. All the conferences have done some work to have a women in cannabis lunch or a panel, but we think it goes a lot deeper. And as a marketer, I'm hungry for consumer insights. And as a marketer that has always worked on brands that target women specifically. And we know it goes well beyond gender. It's so much more around consumer buying behavior and the impact and, specific market segments. I want to continue to explore that and continue to bring that segment to the forefront to really understand. Because right now in Canada, we're underserving a lot of markets, including women. And I really look forward to when we get a little bit further along with retail and we can start to have very specialized experiences. And, in Canada, it's very regulated. Whenever I spoke in Malta before the pandemic, about a year and a half ago, and they kind of joked that marketing a cannabis brand in Canada was a bit of a nightmare. And, you earn some war wounds along the way, that's for sure, trying to create something unique and interesting. But yeah, and I also want to ensure that women understand how lucrative this space is, the economic opportunity, and continue to create and work with clients to create really authentic brands that are going to resonate and make a difference. Because I'm sure, I know from you, you've had an amazing personal experience with cannabis, and I have the same, this level of commitment to the plant and the value it's brought to my life. And everyone is so different. So I'm excited to continue to serve a market that has very different needs from the same plant, which provides a lot of complication. But that women have the strength of storytelling and empathy and compassion and all sorts of things that our industry really needs for us to bring to really understand and serve consumers and patients.
Indeed. So, what are some of the ways that you're still held back as a market? You have federal legalization, but we had edibles in California before you did. And, I remember I had a topical with me when I was there, and everyone was so excited to see what a topical was. And yet here it was federally legal. So there's some really weird things going on there that are preventing your industry from really just blowing up. Where are some of your hindrances still?
So CBD in general in Canada is treated the same as THC. So it is only available in licensed dispensaries, which aren't in every market yet. So it's so crazy when we get to see what's happening in the US versus here, especially from a CBD standpoint. And then, municipalities adopting, they got to choose whether or not they wanted to have cannabis retail in their communities. I live 2 cities away from Toronto, and the city next to me has 1.5 million people, and they opted out of cannabis retail. So, and then they just did a survey where they said there were at least 150, we call it legacy or gray market delivery services. And of course, it's over 1 million people with no local access. Also in Canada, we face different challenges by province. So while we're federally legal, each province has a different way of approaching it. In Ontario, the government controls our liquor and our weed. So if you are a dispensary, you need to buy your product specifically from the Ontario Cannabis Store, and they take a cut, you know, and there's cuts taken along the way. So it's tough. Like it's just that the rollout in general has been bumpy. And we work with some amazing craft brands and some amazing topical brands, which are finally now in market. But everything, because of all the red tape, takes much longer than ever expected. And, you know, a tough part of our job is talking to some very motivated people and motivated entrepreneurs and giving them a small dose of reality in terms of how long things actually take to come to fruition and to get to market. And so not everyone's made it because like the waiting time has been long and the capital investment is pretty big. So it's not an easy slog. You do need to, just like in California and everywhere else, you need to have passion that's really driving you forward, because it's going to take longer than you think to get to where you want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is access to capital for women in Canada?
I don't have a ton of personal experience other than talking to my friends in the industry going through the experience. And in general, capital has been harder to come by in recent years. So there were sort of the heydays of cannabis, and I would say Psychedelics is actually there right now, where there is quite a bit of capital, quite a bit of hype, and quite a bit of interest. And on the psychedelics front, I am seeing from a Canadian landscape a more balanced C-suite. It's not perfect, but that's kind of what we're seeing. From a cannabis standpoint, it has been tough. Dollars really did tighten up, you know, about a year and a half ago. And then going into COVID, it was really hard for anyone to be making any kind of long-term decisions at that point. So I would say capital for everyone is difficult. Capital for women is probably even more difficult, just given the representation and even who's on the other end in terms of investors tend to be quite male dominated up here.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest problems women have in the industry right now. We're under 3%. And women of color, I mean, I don't even think it's 1%. It's like 0.06% or something really shameful like that. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit more to the conference that's coming up. Can you tell us when it is? Can you give us maybe some of the other women who are speaking? Where can we get tickets?
For sure. So May 26th and May 27th, it's online. wwcconference.com is where you can get the full schedule. We have a nice representation, women from countries all over the world speaking, including India, UK, Australia. So we're really trying to cover the full gamut. We encourage everyone to have a look at the schedule and look at what works for them, because we don't expect anyone to be sitting at their computer for 12 hours a day like we will be for the conference. But we do have a couple different streams. The patient insights panel is really important and relevant. Last year it was one of our biggest panels, and so we've got that again this year on the cannabis side. Women in leadership, like we mentioned already, will be kicking off, or it's about midday on the first day. And so I'm really excited for that, Kyra. And my partner, Bridget, will be on that panel with you, along with some really other heavy hitters who are making a big difference, both in the business and for women in the business. So we're really excited about that. On the psychedelic side, lots in the way of really science and research. We have an addiction therapy focused panel, which is close to my heart. So I'm looking forward to that and learning from those experts. And then again, we have the additional ticketed events, which, most of them are in the vein of $15 Canadian. So it's like 2 cents US. But yeah, so they're really low barrier cost of entry. And the way we like to approach the networking events is we do cap them because we like to do breakout rooms, give everyone a chance to introduce themselves in kind of this rotating environment. And then the other piece is, again, like on Clubhouse, we're going to be doing 12 to 3 each day on the Wednesday and Thursday, this drop-in lounge. And we're really encouraging everyone to join. And if you've never been on a Clubhouse stage before, it's your perfect chance to try. And I love that that's, I feel like your events that you've done are so inclusive in that way too. And it's a bit scary sometimes for some people. So, we're just excited to be where the industry is and enable women to connect and, make those important engagements kind of wherever you are. All of our panels will be available after the fact. They'll be pre-recorded, but our Q&As are so lively. So it is fun to be there. And if there's someone you're really interested in the space, getting a chance to ask them direct and promote your business always goes a long way.
Awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. Okay, tell us before we go what you are most looking forward to or most excited about in 2021 as we get back to normal.
Well, yeah, getting back to normal, number one. We were joking before we started, like I've already booked Vegas, traveling. It's funny, like a lot of my self-care was in the travel I was doing, even just for work, like being able to leave and being on a plane for my own for a few hours, getting a moment just to clear my head. I'm really excited about that. And then also in Canada, we've had quite a lot of interesting research studies coming forward in around cannabis and psychedelics. So I'm interested in learning more and also watching our industry continue to be mainstream, continuing to watch that media represent us properly and talk about plant medicine in an inspiring, exciting way. That's a lot in half of 1 year, but those are all the things I'm most excited about.
And they're all doable.
I think so too.
That's wonderful. So where do people find more information about Marigold, more information about the conference and anything else? And especially for our Canadian sisters who aren't connected with you yet, who want to join.
wwcconference.com is the website. And then marigoldpr.com is Marigold's platform. Our social handles are all tied into those, so you can kind of find us everywhere. My name, as Kyra said, is Katie Pringle. Add me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect and collaborate and hear your amazing ideas, because that's something that's so inspiring to me is just the amazing ideas that have come to fruition in just a few short years in this industry. So.
I totally agree. And I'm really excited about a collaboration with you and Candora and the conference. And, it's really important, I think, that we build bridges and really strong bridges internationally so that as we both grow, I mean, we do have a lot of things in common, but just in this conversation, how many things are so different on each side of the border.
Exactly.
And how can we help our sisters to the north to have a more successful industry? And what can you share with us? So it's going to be fun to see how our partnership rolls out. And don't be surprised if you come to an event that is co-sponsored by us both, whether it's online or in person, and you can expect to find really amazing content whatever we're going to do together, whether it's just sharing each other's events or doing something together. I think we're going to do something together soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. I just adore you, and I've always wanted to do something with you, so I'm glad we're moving closer.
I feel the same. So nice. Thank you for having me today. This was so fun.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for sharing your time and your journey with us today, Katie Pringle. Ladies, thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't yet joined the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, go to our brand new membership portal at womenempoweredInCannabis.com. There you'll find lots of information on our new memberships for women working in cannabis. You can also find us on Clubhouse as WEIC, where we host AMA rooms with investors and recruiters and monthly open mics to introduce yourself to the community. WEIC is a community that provides resources, connections, events, and content to women working in cannabis in the US, Canada, and around the world where there's an interest in cannabis legalization. We welcome women who are currently working in cannabis or curious about taking a leap into the industry. Consider becoming a supporting member or supporting business for benefits and access across the network. Join us again soon for another conversation with smart women in cannabis.